Dinosaurs ruled this planet for over 160 million years. But the one you remember most? It showed up in the final seconds. Sounds impossible, right? The ultimate symbol of raw power, Tyrannosaurus rex, wasn't the pioneer of the dinosaur age. It was the late arrival. Very late. When T-Rex finally stepped onto the evolutionary stage, the clock was already ticking towards 66 million years ago, the exact moment a massive asteroid was hurtling toward Earth. And it gets worse. That means the so-called Tyrant King didn't rule an eternal empire. It dominated a dying world. Let that sink in. The most feared predator in prehistoric history wasn't the beginning of a dynasty. It was the final act before extinction. This shocking truth forces you to rethink everything. Was T-Rex the pinnacle of evolution? Or just the last chapter of a book already about to slam shut? If you're ready to uncover the truth behind this legendary name, comment 1. What makes you believe dinosaurs were ever real? A few fossilized bones, and the conviction that they're not just creatures of imagination. In the 19th century, when the first massive teeth were unearthed in Europe, doubt exploded. Did monsters larger than any living reptile truly walk this planet? Or were these just familiar animals, distorted by human fantasy? Then came names like Richard Owen. He took scattered bones and stitched them into a new category: Dinosauria, terrible lizards. But there was a problem. The first reconstructions were wrong. They were drawn as sluggish, oversized lizards, bellies dragging, tails scraping, evolutionary dead ends. And that misconception lingered for decades. It took more than a century of excavation, comparison, and brutal scientific debate for the image to shift. Thousands of fossils surfaced on every continent. Over 900 species identified. Dozens more announced every single year. And then came the discoveries that shattered everything. Footprints proving they ran fast, egg nests revealing parental care, feathered fossils exposing a direct link to modern birds. The dinosaur world stopped being myth. It became a structured ecosystem, with evolution, with behavior, with a history carved in stone. And here's the unsettling part. Every time we think we understand them, a new fossil forces science to rewrite the story. So what do you believe? Are dinosaurs just an overblown fantasy? Or a real, violent chapter of Earth's history that we're still decoding? If you believe they truly ruled this planet, comment 1. If you still doubt it, comment 0. Before Tyrannosaurus rex ever existed, the planet had already survived a brutal evolutionary war. You don't get a king without centuries of bloodshed. Go back 230 million years. Earth was a single supercontinent, Pangaea. No oceans dividing land, no familiar coastlines. Just endless deserts, violent monsoons, volcanoes erupting non-stop, poisoning the sky, reshaping the ground, rewriting the climate in real time. This was the late Triassic. And the first dinosaurs? They were small, fast, fragile. Not rulers, not giants. Just survivors. They lived in the shadows of other dominant reptiles. Every step was a gamble. Every generation a test. Evolution was ruthless. Adapt or vanish. Then came the catastrophe. Around 201 million years ago, massive volcanic eruptions and extreme climate shifts triggered a global extinction event. Entire dominant groups were wiped out. Ecosystems collapsed. But there's a twist. That destruction cleared the path. The Jurassic began. A wetter world. Lush forests stretching for miles. Oxygen-rich air. Opportunity. Dinosaurs didn't just survive. They exploded in size, in diversity, in power. Massive herbivores thundered across the landscape. And behind them evolved something new. Predators that were muscular, intelligent, terrifyingly efficient, Every adaptation mattered. Longer legs, sharper vision, stronger jaws. Millions of years of fine-tuning, trial and error, death and dominance. All of it building toward something. Here's the shocking truth. Tyrannosaurus rex was not the beginning. It was the climax. The final, lethal masterpiece of millions of years of evolutionary experimentation. Every bone, every joint, every muscle attachment on T. Rex tells a story of survival under extreme pressure. It wasn't born into power. It was engineered by a planet that demanded perfection. Dinosaurs didn't just grow bigger over time. The Earth itself trained them, hardened them, sharpened them. A symphony of evolution spanning tens of millions of years, all leading to one apex predator standing alone at the top of the food chain. After millions of years of evolution, a late arrival stepped into the arena, Tyrannosaurus rex. But here's the twist. T-Rex didn't rule the entire planet. 66 million years ago, North America didn't look like it does today. A shallow inland sea, the Western Interior Seaway, sliced the continent in two, stretching from the Arctic Ocean to the Gulf of Mexico. What remained in the West was an island continent. Paleontologists call it Laramidia. That was T-Rex's kingdom. A suffocating world of dense forests, flooded plains, and steaming swamps. Every sense pushed to the limit, every shadow a threat, every vibration a signal. The fossils don't lie. The Hell Creek Formation, spanning Montana, North Dakota, South Dakota, and Wyoming, reveals a thriving, violent ecosystem. Triceratops dominated the landscape. Nearly 40% of the large animals in the region, horned, armored, dangerous. Edmontosaurus moved in massive herds, their footsteps sending tremors through the mud. Smaller species like Pachycephalosaurus and agile dromaeosaurs navigated the thick undergrowth with lethal precision. And beneath it all, tiny early mammals crept through the night, surviving in the shadows. At the top stood T. Rex. But it wasn't rare, and it wasn't alone. Fossil surveys suggest Tyrannosaurus made up nearly a quarter of the large carnivores in this ecosystem. One specimen changed everything. Sioux, discovered in South Dakota in 1990, over 90% complete, now displayed at the Field Museum in Chicago. Sioux's bones tell a brutal story. Bite marks, healed broken ribs, fused tail vertebrae from catastrophic injuries. This wasn't a fragile monarch. This was a survivor of constant war. And here's what makes it even more unsettling. T-Rex lived at the very edge of the dinosaur era. Not the pioneer, not the founder. The final product, a predator forged by millions of years of evolutionary pressure. Every hunt, every rival, every ecological interaction, sharpening it into something terrifyingly efficient. Have you ever wondered what made T-Rex truly unique in a world already filled with giants? That mystery still haunts paleontology. And every fossil pulled from the ground doesn't just give answers. It raises new, darker questions about the life of evolution's ultimate latecomer. What if the most complete Tyrannosaurus rex ever discovered isn't just a fossil, but a crime scene? When you talk about T-Rex, you have to talk about Sioux. Discovered in 1,990 inches South Dakota, more than 90% complete. The most intact Tyrannosaurus specimen ever found. And the moment you really look at Sioux, you see it. Violence, cracked ribs, healed fractures, bite marks, fused tail vertebrae, deep gouges in the skull. Every scar tells a story. Sioux didn't live in peace. Sioux survived war. Those bite marks? Likely from other Tyrannosaurus, territorial fights, brutal clashes over food, over dominance, over survival. Because here's the truth. T-Rex sat at the top of the food chain. But that didn't mean safety. It meant constant challenge, a savage ecosystem where strength was tested daily, where weakness was punished instantly. And yet, Sue healed. The bone regrew, the fractures fused, the body recovered. That tells you something extraordinary. Tyrannosaurus Rex wasn't just powerful, it was resilient. It could endure catastrophic injury and return to hunting, to defending territory, to asserting dominance. This wasn't mindless brutality. It was calculated survival. Massive muscle, bone-crushing jaws, serrated teeth designed to pulverize flesh and shatter bone. But also strategy, timing, efficiency. Sue reveals something deeper. T-Rex wasn't a reckless killer rampaging through its world. Every hunt carried risk. Every fight had consequences. Energy had to be conserved. Threats had to be assessed. This predator was forged by millions of years of evolutionary pressure, refined, hardened, optimized. The scars on Sue's skeleton aren't just evidence of violence. They're a survival map. Proof of how Tyrannosaurus became the apex predator of late Cretaceous North America. Now imagine standing in front of a living Sue, 40 feet of muscle, skull the size of a bathtub, eyes locked on movement in the tall grass. You wouldn't just feel fear, you'd feel awe. And you'd finally understand why this so-called latecomer didn't just survive at the end of the dinosaur era. It dominated. You think Tyrannosaurus Rex was terrifying because of its scars? That's not even the most shocking part. Beyond the battles, beyond the broken bones, lies something far more disturbing. A biological design almost too perfect for its role as an apex predator. Start with the scale. An adult T-Rex stretched nearly 40 feet long, weighed 6 to 7 tons, about the size of a city bus. But here's the real question. Does sheer size create a killer? Not exactly. The true weapon was its skull, over 5 feet long, reinforced with thick nasal bones and internal struts built to absorb catastrophic stress. This wasn't a lightweight frame. It was a shock-resistant battering ram. Its prey included giants like Edmontosaurus and Triceratops, massive herbivores armed with horns and bulk, and yet, it crushed them. Each tooth was thick and conical, not designed to slice like a blade, designed to puncture, to shatter, to pulverize bone like a living sledgehammer. Computer simulations estimate its bite force between 35,000 and 57,000 newtons, more than double that of the largest modern crocodile. But how is that even possible? Because T-Rex wasn't just strong, it was engineered. And it gets worse. What truly made it lethal wasn't just power, it was perception. Its eyes faced forward. That means stereoscopic vision, depth perception, the ability to calculate distance with chilling precision. It didn't lunge blindly, it measured. Its brain was larger than most other theropod predators, and its olfactory bulbs were enormous. It could smell prey from staggering distances, detect decay, sense life before movement was visible. Its hearing was tuned to low-frequency vibrations, deep rumbles, subtle tremors in the ground. Imagine standing still, thinking you're hidden, while something miles away already knows you're there. Even those famously short arms? Not useless. Compact, muscular, armed with curved, razor-sharp claws, strong enough to grip struggling prey at the moment of impact. And its skin? Thick scales in adulthood, no fluffy feathers like its smaller ancestors, armor against injury, protection in a brutal ecosystem crawling with pathogens and rivals. Every feature mattered. Size, skull, teeth, muscle, senses, skin. None of it was accidental. This was evolutionary refinement under relentless pressure. Millions of years of selection forging one outcome: dominance. So ask yourself, was T-Rex just violent? Or was it strategic, adaptive, calculated? When you look at this body, you're not just seeing a dinosaur. You're staring at a near-perfect biological killing machine, forged by evolution, optimized for survival, built for a world where hesitation meant death. And here's the unsettling thought. If an animal like this existed once, what else has evolution built that we haven't fully understood yet? You think a T-Rex skeleton in a museum tells the full story? Think again. Most of what you see isn't nature, it's human invention. Step into a gallery. Stand beneath a towering T-Rex skeleton. You might believe you're looking at a creature that lived 66 million years ago. But here's the shocking truth. Much of it is reconstructed. Paleontologists rarely uncover a complete individual. A skull, a few vertebrae, one rib. That's it. Everything else? Guesses, extrapolations, careful scientific imagination. Bones from different individuals are pieced together. Missing parts are mirrored, flipped, or modeled using computer simulations. No wonder T-Rex displays vary between museums. No wonder films like Jurassic Park mislead audiences about when and where this predator lived. T-Rex didn't roam the Jurassic. It stalked the very end of the Cretaceous. But the story isn't just about bones. It's about humans. Take Sue, the most complete T-Rex ever found in South Dakota, 1990. Or the dozens of specimens locked away in private collections. Each one highlights a battle: science versus commerce, preservation versus profit. When a fossil vanishes into private hands, millions of clues about biology, disease, behavior, and lifespan disappear with it. Lost to researchers, lost to history. So every time you marvel at a T-Rex skeleton, ask yourself, how much is real and how much is us? This is the crucial lesson. Science isn't just discovery, it's interpretation, reconstruction, where skepticism is a tool, not a weakness. And as we move from bones to the stories of legacy, environment, and loss, one question remains. What was the world really like for T-Rex? And how much of that world have we truly preserved? Not all T-Rex skeletons are safe in museums. Chilling, isn't it? Some of them are sitting in someone's living room. For over a century, paleontologists have cataloged roughly 60 major Tyrannosaurus rex specimens in public museums. But nearly as many are in private hands. That means a massive chunk of scientific data growth patterns, diseases, behavior, even evolutionary clues could be locked away behind doors no researcher can open. In 1997, the skeleton known as Sue sold for $8.36 million. By 2020, another specimen, Stan, shattered records at $31.8 million. Eye-popping sums. But here's the terrifying part. Fossils have become investment assets. It's not about money. It's about knowledge. When a fossil ends up in private hands, scientists can't scan it with CT, study bone microstructure, or examine pathologies. Rare juvenile T. Rex specimens critical for understanding growth are especially at risk of vanishing into the collector market. That leaves gaping holes in our picture of the life cycle of this ultimate predator. The shocking truth? We may have discovered more T-Rex skeletons than ever reported, but not all are serving science. Dinosaurs were wiped out by a natural catastrophe. Today, their legacy can vanish by human choice. And as we reach the final chapter of this story, the question is no longer how powerful T-Rex was, but this. What will we leave for the future? Shared knowledge for all humanity, or skeletons locked away in the shadows? 66 million years ago, a massive asteroid wiped Tyrannosaurus rex off the face of the Earth. But today, the thing that could erase its memory? It's us. Every T-Rex skeleton standing tall in a museum isn't just stone and bone. It's proof that life can rise to the peak and collapse in an instant. It's a reminder that power does not equal immortality. When a fossil is locked away in a private collection, a piece of humanity's shared story is locked with it. When a child looks up at that towering skeleton and asks, "Did it really live?" Science is born from that spark of curiosity. The tragedy isn't that the dinosaurs went extinct. The tragedy is that we could let history vanish a second time. If you believe knowledge belongs to everyone, comment 1.